Do your chords sound robotic? I've been there and it's so frustrating. But the solution is simpler than you think. Today, I'm going to show you one fast fix that are going to take your chords from sounding robotic and slow to flowing and musical. And the good news is, it's only going to take a few minutes. I'm going to take you through 2 examples so that you can apply this practice technique to any piece, whether it's Chopin or Liszt or anything else you are working on. By the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly how to take your chords from sounding stiff and robotic to flowing and musical, and I'm super excited to share it with you because I've never talked about it on the channel before. Hey piano people, I'm Ashley. Welcome to Ashley Young Music Studio, where you are going to learn how to practice smarter, not harder. Let's dive in. So why do your chords sound robotic in the first place? The issue comes from the amount of space that the chords are taking up in your brain. Your brain gets a little overwhelmed because it's trying to process a lot of information all at the same time. You've got the melody, the chords, the rhythm, and instead of hearing a beautiful expressive melody on top of the chords, you end up with something that sounds stiff and disconnected. But here's where things get really interesting. Your aural memory, which is your memory of how things sound, is incredibly powerful. Once your ear hears the passage played musically a few times, your brain is going to naturally try to imitate that sound, even if it's a little bit overwhelmed. And that's where this new practice method comes in, and it's all about focusing on the harmonic rhythm of the piece. So here's the fast fix. You are going to strip down the chords to their most essential function, the harmonic rhythm. It sounds complicated, but the harmonic rhythm is just the rate at which the chords change. And it's usually slower than you think it is. You'll see in just a minute. By breaking the piece down to its harmonic rhythm, you free your brain space up to focus on musicality. Once you've practiced this way and trained your ear, your brain will naturally try to replicate that musical sound when you add the chords back in. So let's dive into example number 1, which is Chopin's Waltz in B minor, opus 69, number 2. But really quickly before that, have you reserved your seat for Piano Practice Lab? This event is coming up quickly in January, and we are going to spend 4 days together in Zoom, where I'm going to teach you how to design a weekly practice routine that accelerates your trajectory to confident musical expression. You are going to learn all about the revolutionary practice methods that ensure that you make progress during every single practice session. And in addition to your free seat in the 4 days of classes, you will get free replays as well as several other freebies. You don't want to miss this event. I only do it twice a year, and I might only do it once in 2025. You can reserve your seat by following the link in the description. Just pause the video, join Piano Practice Lab, reserve that free seat, and I'll also put the link on the end screen. Looking at the Chopin Waltz in B minor, you can see that there's a lot of chords. This whole left hand is filled with chords, right? Every single measure has at least 2. And it might look overwhelming, but when we dive in and look a little bit deeper, we can actually see that there's only 1 chord per measure, because the harmony isn't changing every single beat. The harmony, meaning the chord, is actually only changing about once per measure. So even though we're playing a chord or a note of a chord on every single beat of each measure, the chord is lasting for the entire measure. Even when you look at measure 8, where the chord on beat 2 changes, it looks like it's changing chords, but it's actually just like playing another note of the same chord. So even measure 8, where it looks like there's 2 chords, there's actually really just 1 harmony or 1 chord for that entire measure. So we're going to simplify everything down to the harmonic rhythm by playing the chord on beat 1 of every measure. And this is going to be challenging because it's not how the music is written. So we're going to take the chord that usually falls on beat 2 and we're going to move it to beat 1. So in measure 1, I'm going to take this chord, F sharp B D, that's usually on beat 2, and I'm actually going to play it on beat 1. So 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and same thing, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. Notice that I'm counting out loud, and notice that I'm skipping over the bass notes. In this piece, the bass note is really just a pedal point. Sometimes it's a part of the chord, but sometimes it isn't. And that single bass note doesn't give us a sense of the harmonic rhythm. It doesn't really help us know what the chord sounds like just from that one single bass note. So we're just going to skip over that and play the chord. Now let me show you how this sounds without me talking. You can hear that it's a lot lot simpler because I'm not doing the whole left hand. This is what it sounds like when I have the entire left hand in there. You can hear and see how my brain power might be really filled up with everything that's happening in the left hand when I show you how it sounds with my left hand playing on every single beat. But when I simplify the harmonic rhythm and I just play the chord on beat 1, all of a sudden there's more space. The left hand is less busy and I can focus on this melody. Let me show you again. And it's easier to play and I can hear the melody, I can feel the melody, and I have enough brain space to start to experiment a little bit with what does it sound like if I do crescendos or decrescendos. I have more space in my brain. Now we're going to take a look at another example. We're going to look at Liszt's Consolation number 3. This is one of my favorite pieces, and it's been a really long time since I've used it as an example here on the channel. But before we dive into that example, comment below and let me know what you are learning from this video. Have you ever done this before? Have you ever taken a piece and broken down the left hand to the harmonic rhythm? And if you've learned something already, subscribe to the channel and make sure to hit the bell so that you know every time I release one of these helpful videos. Copy the link, share it with a friend so that they too can make their chords sound really, really good. This Consolation number 3 is very different. You can see that the accompaniment pattern that I'm playing with my right hand right now, and it's hard to talk and play this one at the same time, is broken chords. It's all arpeggios, right? And it looks really complicated. And oftentimes when people open up this piece of music, they're like, whoa, that left hand, there's a lot going on. But when you look at these arpeggiated notes, and this is something you can do in any piece that has a lot of arpeggios in the accompaniment, when you look at these arpeggios, it's actually just the same notes over and over and over again. And in fact, the whole first 3 measures are just this chord. And if I delete all of the repeated notes, I can see that that's actually just a D flat major chord. And that's what my left hand is doing. So the first 3 measures look overwhelming because there's so many notes in every measure, but really the harmonic rhythm is just a D flat major chord for all 3 measures. And so what you can do in a piece that has these arpeggiated chords is you can just block them together. Okay, and similar to the Chopin waltz, I'm actually going to leave out that D flat in the bass because this actually has a similar thing happening. It's a pedal point. Sometimes it's a part of the chord, sometimes it's not, but I'm going to leave out that bottom note and I'm just going to play the chord up here. Okay, so I'm going to have to go very, very slow with these blocked chords. And I'm going to start, I'm going to count 1, this is measure 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, notice how the harmonic rhythm is so slow. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh, all of a sudden there's nothing happening in this piece. It's so much simpler. Right? You can still hear the harmonic rhythm, meaning you can still hear the chord changes. I'm still playing that harmonic rhythm, but everything is simpler. My brain space is not taken up with trying to remember how to do this left hand that is much more complicated. Now, not only does this free up brain space in the moment to focus on playing musically and to allow you to play that melody with musicality so that your ear can hear what it's like to sound musical and your ear can learn to replicate that sound when you go back to playing the left hand as it's written in your music. This also makes you know the accompaniment pattern or the chords really well. Because in order to do what we did in the first example and take the chord on beat 2 and play it on beat 1, you have to have a really good sense of what's going on in your piece. And in order to simplify the arpeggios to the harmonic rhythm and clump all of those notes together, you have to have a really good knowledge of fingering and rhythm and of every note that's happening in the piece. So if you go to practice this and you find that it's a little bit challenging at first, that's the point, right? You're making your brain solve all of these puzzles to get to know this piece on a deeper level while also fast tracking yourself to musicality. So now that you know how it works in different pieces, it's your turn. Pick any piece that you're working on that has chords in the accompaniment pattern and simplify the harmonic rhythm. The first step will be to identify the chords. And if you're getting stuck on this step, I have another video that I'm going to link on the end screen that will show you how to do this. Then you're going to simplify everything down to the basic harmonic rhythm. And then you're gonna focus on making the melody sound as beautiful as possible. Now, you're not gonna do this forever, right? You wanna do this for a few practice sessions. You can work in small chunks, and then you'll go back to playing everything regularly as written, and you'll be shocked at how much more musical everything sounds, and at how much more you know the piece. And I wanna challenge you to do this for a few practice sessions and then come back and comment on this video. Let me know how it goes. Let me know how much confident you feel with your chords and how much more musical it sounds. This technique will help you bridge the gap between I can play the chords and the chords sound musical. Now, don't forget to reserve your free seat in Piano Practice Lab. If you haven't done that already, the link is right here on the end screen, as well as the link to that other video that will help you learn how to analyze the chords so that you can take this practice method even further. You can grab both right here. Happy practicing.